Morning. Anyone watching this in review? Good morning. Oi. Oh, Penny just announced her giveaway. 500 subs. Congratulations, Penny. Hey, Yamas, how you doing, buddy? Sorry I'm a bit late this morning. Or this evening, if it's from you. Hey, Ian. Hi from UK. Hey, Jared, how you going? Don't mind me, just cleaning the shop. Making it so I can walk around this place without going arse over. That would be a little awkward. Alright. Need to spend another day cleaning this place out. Happy Easter to everyone. I have an Easter egg to celebrate. Fat and sassy. Yeah, you're not fat. Sorry, mate. You don't get to claim that right on this channel. Alright, so the vote was in. Looks like I'm forging a dagger or two. First, I need the material. Ha! Yeah, sorry, mate. You ain't got nothing on me. Yeah, cool. 9:30 Eastern. Cool. That's what I figured. I was a little late. Hey, LJ, hang on. Early days yet, mate. Early days yet. Normally give it a minute before I start the forge up. It is finally autumn here in Australia. It is actually beautifully cool. It's about 15 degrees Celsius today. This morning. Probably get up to around 20. So it's nice and cool. My wife absolutely hates it. She hates cold weather. But yeah, I'm happy to be in the cold finally, or cool. It's not exactly cold. It is. It's a beautiful day outside. Sun's shining. It's been raining the last couple of days, but that's been awesome. For those of you who follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you've probably seen that I've been fairly busy. Those of you who watched the last live stream will recognize this, or might not recognize this. Looks a little different. Yeah, it's actually crazy how quickly it went from like 35 degree days down to 15 degree days. Like, just snap of fingers. But draw knife finished. She came out pretty good. Obviously I rushed the forging a little bit, so the bevel's not that even, but she's nice and straight. Nice and clean. Left a machine finish on it. Put some Jarrah handles on it and wrapped with leather. I was originally going to use brass, but I don't have any brass tubing, so epoxied leather wrap was what I went with anyway. And it works really well, so happy with that. Yeah. So today we'll be forging a dagger blade, or I'm thinking I might forge two, because there are two different forms of dagger blade. We'll see how quickly I can get the first one done. Hey Tasheki, hey Nope, how you going guys? We're just giving everyone some time. No, you're not late at all. I am. We've only just started. Alright. Also put a new handle on my dog's head, so be able to use that today. Hey Wolf Party, how you doing? Ceramic. Alright, let's get this party started. Yeah, I saw that in your live stream. I'm sorry I couldn't hang around. I'm gonna warm myself up on the fire. I didn't, Jared. Which photo did you comment on? Tomato watch. Fun. We don't get those down here in WA. Oh. We get them up in the north of WA, but that's, 1,000 kilometres north. I must have missed something, Wolf Party. I didn't see the comment. There must be a photo comment. I can't see those on my camera, so on my phone. Right. Not sure if you're talking to me, Larry, because it's, morning here. I'll turn you around. Bright, sunshiny morning. Welcome to Western Australia. Well, hopefully the power doesn't go, Yamas. Oh, sweet, Jared. Yeah, that's cool, man. I didn't see that. Yeah, it's daylight. It's 9:30 in the morning, or 9:41 in the morning. For some reason, looks like I left an epoxy fingerprint. Mars, yeah, exactly. Thousands and thousands of miles away. Yep, bright and early morning. I'm a little late today. The weather shift always ends up leaving both me and my missus sick. So, just been dealing with that. But no, it's a bright, clear morning out there. Well, stay safe, young ass. Head down. Yeah, he must be beefed you with your Americans. Got no issue with him on red. Yeah, fun. Cool, Jared. I'm looking forward to seeing it done. Looking forward to getting to work on it. Just sharpening my draw knife. Not the one I made last week. This is the one that I normally use. And I noticed that someone had used it on something that had nails in it. And taking a couple of chunks out. So. Cool, man. I'll look forward to seeing that. That'll be good. I love seeing stuff get made, especially when I get to have it later. Yeah, this is a very old French pattern draw knife. Very old. It's got ball handles. It's actually quite a useful draw knife. Yeah. Someone had obviously used it on nails while I wasn't looking. No chips in it now. That I made is just fine. Turned out actually pretty awesome. I'm really happy with it. I need to refine the edge a little bit, make it a little bit more refined. Hey Saber, how you going? While we're waiting for the forge to fire up, I'll take you outside and you know, you guys can get the beautiful sunshine underneath you. Warm you up. Beautiful Australian skies. Australian winter skies. Or autumn skies, technically. Not the... Sorry about that. Just stepped out of range of the Wi-Fi router. Late 60s. Cool. Yeah, I wasn't here in the late 60s. I wasn't even here in the late 80s. Yeah. Yeah, well, this is the backyard. It's looking very green right now because we've had quite a bit of rainfall and sunshine as well, so it's actually looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that. And now we get into the cold months. Fair enough. All good, Saber. That's what I'm here for, passing on some educations. Morning, Peter. You don't get rain in Melbourne? I call BS. Sub 9 or 5160 in the forge. Hey Newt, how you doing, mate? Randy, right? Randy. So we're making daggers. A dagger or 2 daggers, depending on how we go. Fair enough, Yumez. Stay safe, buddy. All good, Yumez. See you later. That's enough, buddy. Tell you what. I live here. For those of you who don't know, Kevin's my Tomcat. One thing to be very aware of when forging blades is that the width you forge your preform to is only going to be about 2/3 or 3/4 the width of your final blade once you bevel it. So if you're forging your preform, and this is a mistake that a lot of people make, is that they forge their preform to final shape, what they want, and then they something that's like half an inch wider. Making them backwards is always hard. I still have my first pair of tongs. They're over here. Originally they were going to be flat bits. I ended up making them scrolling tongs. You can see how bad they are. Like the grains are different lengths. They're yeah, not the best. Not the best, but they work. They still work. I still use them for arrowheads and stuff like that. That's why I made them pointed, so I can hold the inside of sockets on arrowheads. So these are my little scrolling tongs. I have got better since then. They're a little rusty, but these are a pair that I made for the YouTube channel, and they're a lot better. You know, right length of handle, much thicker stock in the jaws, nice thick bolsters. Yeah, bits are always that's always a problem. It's true, tongs are tongs, but the better the quality of tong, the easier it is to use. I think the most recent pair of tongs I made is a pair I might end up using today. That's this set. Made myself a set of Bladesmith tongs. And they work really well, and they're nice and clean. Nice forgings. You get better. You get better. Practice. So the steel I'm using at the moment is SUP 9 or 5160. They're equivalent. So yeah, it's spring steel. We're just working it down, trying to get some quick out of it. You want to trade, Saber? Yeah, I do make quite a few different sets of songs now. I made these in a live stream previously, these wolf jaws for holding various sizes of stock. I want to make another pair of these. I overcut, just a little bit, I overcut the sideways jaw on this set. Not overly happy with that, but they came out alright. You never have too many sets of tongs. Ah, fair enough, 5/16. Some fairly thin stock. So again, I'm just working down the I think it would cost too much in shipping. Hey, Granddads, thanks for the super chat, mate. In Philadelphia at work. Well, best of luck at work, buddy. Thanks for dropping in. Really appreciate it. So again, we're working down the width of the stock, parent stock, because I'm going to eventually forge the bevels, and that's going to widen the stock again. I don't want a super wide blade. That's true, Larry. If they hold your stock steady, then they're good. Rounding side of my hand. About 5160s, it really doesn't like to move. Not quite. CX isn't really a dagger. CX. Sax. Technically, sax. Silent. So while I'm forging my preform, this would be what the Japanese would call a sonobe, which is the preform. And so when I'm forging the preform, I'm very aware of my width and my thickness, because what I want to do is establish my taper both horizontally, so talking about the actual taper of the blade, and then also my distal taper in thickness. So the preform is all important. Never skip on your preform. Shift the camera around a bit. Yeah, daggers can be fairly tricky. Matter of going at it and seeing what works. Resting my thickness down. Forging in that distal taper. So that's basically the parent bar now. So you can see how I've shifted it down. I'm going to be cutting it off about here to make the rest of the blade. So this is going to be a relatively short dagger, but you can already see thicker here, thinner down here, and that's the distal taper. And then I'm going to forge the point in, get that nice taper going down there. Daggers can be a lot thicker than your standard knives because they're not really designed for cutting. They're a thrusting weapon. That's it, forge it thick, grind it thin. Although, that being said, that old saying was relative. So, these days people tend to think that forging thick, grinding thin, and this is what Randy's just basically pointed out, is that thick is relative. To the Japanese, forging 95% shape was forging thick. To the Europeans, again, forging 90 to 95% shape was thick. The basic idea was he didn't want to forge it shut. That's it, yeah. So most of the time your decarburization is not going to be much more than about 0.1 to 0.2 of a millimeter. I forge most of my blade edges down to a millimeter thick. And I have never had a problem with decarburization. I also run a fairly rich flame on my forge. So I lower the amount of oxidization I get. For instance, my 1 hour knife, this little thing here, I forged that down to I think just under a millimeter worth of edge before I finally ground the edge, which is why it's only got a grind line up to here. It's because that's forged down to almost finish. Rondell daggers had all different kinds of blades. The square was quite common for armor. Triangular was quite common. They also had the standard double-edge blades in them. It really did depend on personal taste. Not really, Saber, because the thing is that, you know, I'm not forging the whole blade thickness down to 1 mil. Like, obviously the spine on this is quite thick. I forge the edge down to 1 millimeter, and I do my heat treat before I grind. It depends on the knife though. Like, if I'm trying to do a knife where I've got a specific design in mind that requires me to grind those pebbles in, like if I want a really nice polished finish, then I might forge 80% of shape and leave myself 2 mil at the edge or 3 mil at the edge. 3 mil is probably the maximum. Like 3 mil is ridiculous. Unfortunately, it's quite common in the blacksmithing kind of group these days for people to forge incredibly thick, like, you know, 1/2 inch thick spines and 5 mil thick edges, and then try and grind all that material away to get to your final knife. My theory is, if you're going to do that, you may as well just start with a bar of steel and start grinding. That's it, mate. 10 minutes in the foot, it'll take you a half hour grinding. But that also means that you can stuff it up a lot faster. Okay, so pretty much that's my width all I want. Just going to get that final thickness in. Now if I really want to, I can get super anal. Use the blacksmith's third hand and a flatter. This flatter is getting retired very soon. Haven't made a replacement yet. And that just helps dress the thicknesses so that you don't have uneven sides and stuff like that. The cleaner your preform is, the more accurate your preform is, the cleaner your final forging will be. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's a little too high. Most of the time, like it does depend on your forging. You can actually watch. Roy did a good video on on anvil heights. I prefer my anvil height to be at knuckle height. So, you know, when it's brushing my knuckles. Or a little bit lower, or just a tiny, like this, my knuckles don't quite touch the top of my anvil. It's about like 1/2 centimeter lower than my knuckles. And that means that I can use the blacksmith's third hand and all that kind of stuff. It does mean that I have to bend down a little bit to do my finer detail work, but I'm kind of used to that. I'm not sure that I can do a flatter in an hour and a half, to be honest. I would love to, but I don't think I can. If I had a hydraulic press or a power hammer, I could do it, no worries. Well, probably not to a ball peen, but I'm going to probably do a quick weld. I might forge the body. Yeah, well, that's fair enough, Randy. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't have to use the Bladesmith third hand. You could use a holdfast, or a chain, a drape chain, or a mushroom hold down. I actually really like mushroom hold downs. Gary Houston does a really good video on mushroom hold downs ages ago. Okay, so now I'm going to forge the point. Forging the point is very important. You don't want it to fish mouth. Hey, Nidvalia, how you doing, mate? So the trick with forging points, a lot of people seem to have issue with forging points, so here we go. Let's see if I can show you how I forge points accurately. Go. So you want to start with an obtuse taper, and you want to forge back towards yourself. And then you flip it over to the same. Address your thickness, forge towards yourself. You see that the steel is basically kicking back into my stomach. Once I've got that point established, then I can start brushing that point down a little bit and working the taper back. But as you can see, there's no fish mouthing on the end of that. There's a little bit of rag from where it was hot cut, but there's no carp's mouth. Hey Woody, how you going? So it's Woody, okay, well, I'll try and remember that. So mushroom hold down is basically it goes in the hardy hole or the Pritchard hole, normally through the hardy hole. It's got a long rod with a stirrup in the bottom of it, and it's basically it looks like a mushroom cap, like a rounded piece of sheet steel, normally around 6 to 10 mil thick. You forge a dish on it, you forge a cup, and then it flips over, you rivet it to your long holding rod with the stirrup in it, and basically that means you can step into the stirrup. You need to make sure that your hardy hole's overhanging clean air, and then you can step into the stirrup, and basically when you put the work under the mushroom tool, you just step down on it. And that way you can, lift up, step down, control it that way. It's a very interesting tool. I advise going to Gary Houston's channel, or Gary Huston, it's Huston, and look up mushroom hold down. And he does a really good video on it. Okay, so now that we've got that original taper, the original point taper form, now we can work it down a little bit more and refine it. At this stage, you want to be dressing your thickness quite often because you don't want a cold shut. Probably see that that's now sharp, like a sharp point. Like if that was cold and I pricked myself with it, it would hurt. And again, this is the pre-form, so I'm being very careful with my hammer blows, making it nice and clean, making it even, making it all kind of even thicknesses, even distribution of taper down the length of the blade. I want a nice even distal taper from this end to this end. Daggers are one of the few forgings where I'll be very, very careful and take multiple heats just to get my preform right, because if your preform isn't straight, if your preform isn't right, like if it isn't clean, then your dagger is going to come out wonky. And unlike when you're forging something like a Bowie knife or a hunting knife, there's no thick spine to be able to like twist and bend things straight again. So you've got to rely on your own ability to swing a hammer. Slow jib. Yeah. Yeah, I've been a long time Gary Houston video follower. About 6 years, 7 years now. He's quite a good smith. Not a bladesmith, he is a blacksmith. A farrier, actually. He's recently done a lot of horseshoeing videos. Yeah. Snap. Charges just doing very well. Alright. Change the side. Alright. Tulsa trees. I have no idea. I'd have to find out. So again, addressing that horizontal taper, that length taper, trying to get my point in line, dressing my thicknesses. If I wanted to, I could go back and grab the flanner. Very important to look down the length of it this way and try and see whether your point is in line. The point is in line with the body. If the point's streaking over one way or the other, you can end up with a crooked dagger. And no one wants a crooked dagger. The talpa trees. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Randy's here somewhere. Or he was. Yeah, I might use a low heat like this just to straighten things out. Check, recheck. It is bad, yes. Working on another apron. I should be wearing my apron, but I have no idea where I left it. dagger preforms very seriously. Alright. So now we have a fully constructed dagger preform. See the blade shape, and it's thinner than the eventual. It's going to be a bit wider once it's been forged. So there are two processes of forging bevels. I don't think I'm going to get to forging 2 daggers today. I may do an in-depth video on dagger forging, depending on how much interest there is. So there are 2 different processes. There is either tip to, so it's a double-edged dagger. That's what it, when I say dagger, I mean double-edged. So there are 2 different ways of forging bevels on a dagger. You can either go tip to heel or heel to tip. I prefer heel to tip because I like establishing my plunge cuts initially and then working out to the tip. But you can work either way. I might do, as I said, I might do a video in the future on both methods. Again, depending on how much interest there is. So, the working tip to heel requires less hammer accuracy in the beginning than heel to tip, but heel to tip means that you require less hammer accuracy at the end. You're staying until you decide to stop. Okay, well, that's appreciated, Eddie. I'm not sure where you are in the world, but I think if I went on for a little too long, then you'd be up till after midnight. So this is when I change from my rounding hammer to my dog's head bladesmithing hammer, which I recently rehandled. Nice and comfortable. Iowa weird, yeah, okay. Well, hello to Iowa weird. This has been soaking in linseed oil for about a day, and so therefore it's going to be. They're not. I mean, it's not a big deal. You can use any kind of hammer. I just have my personal preferences. Everyone has their own preferences. Okay, so now comes the really tricky bit where I try and forge bevels while filming and try and capture it the way I see it. This is always the hardest part of any film project, is trying to capture what you see for the viewer. Let's hope I'm not going to lose. Okay. I want to try and get you like over the anvil because I'm normally right on top of it when I'm working. I'll move around the other side of the anvil. How's that for an angle? Hey, you're going to, how you doing, mate? Okay, so I need to figure out whether I'm going to put a ricasso on this or I'm not. If I'm not going to put a ricasso on this, it'd be better to forge tip to heel because then I can forge the bevels into the tang. Given that I like ricassos on daggers, I'm going to forge a ricasso, which means I'm going to forge a plunge cut on my dagger. In order to do that, I'm going to put the blade at the angle that I want, and I aim the side of my hammer for the side of the anvil. I'm just using the toe of the hammer to pull out a piece of material. Now I'm going to switch over to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing on that same bevel, just pulling that material out, evening up. And there you go, I've pulled out one side of the dagger bevel. And you can see where the plunge cut is on that side and that side. Nice and even, nice and clean. Now I'm going to turn it over, do the same thing to the other side at the same angle. You can see how much width I added. Given how thick it is, you can see how much width I added. With those bevels, and that's not all the way to finish. The key thing is to maintain the same angle between the blade and the anvil face and the hammer and the blade. So you want to create an angle like this and intersect that angle with the blade. Daggers are an incredibly challenging forging. Alright, so side 2. I always start on my strong side, which means that I'm starting forging with the bevel towards me, and then I flip over to forge away from me. I don't want to isolate that material forging away from me because that's my weak side. So I'm going to try and match the angle that I had on the previous side, to try and match the spot, and I'm going to do the same thing. Over, do the same thing. Again, that's my weak side. Might forge on the ricasso a little bit just to get that plunge over. And a little secret trick is you leave your dagger a little thicker than you would normally leave your standard blades. The reason for that is because that gives you a bit of room to move that central ridge back and forth. Because every time the central ridge pushes over one side, you're actually thinning the entire material down. So if you keep trying to chase that line back and forth, you're going to end up with a much, much thinner dagger than you wanted. Little tips and tricks that you pick up. Oh, see you, Saber. Sorry, mate. Sorry, I didn't catch you, Saber. See you later, mate. Okay, so now that the plunge cuts are kind of isolated, now I've got the area where it goes from ricasso to blade. Now I can start thinking about forging the rest of the bevels. Beveling the rest of the dagger is much like beveling another blade, but you want your angle to be higher and the angle between the hammer and the anvil to be higher because you're wanting to create that central ridge. And in most dagger forgings, you're not trying to draw the edge out, you're trying to force the edge in. So you're actually wanting to push that material back into the blade to maintain that thickness and rigidity. Swing you back around here. So again, I've got that established. I can just start working that material. don't want to try and forge the whole dagger in one go. A lot of people fail to make daggers because they try and forge both bevels on both sides at the same time because they don't want it bending. The reason that you want to forge one bevel and then the other is because it'll even out your thicknesses. Because if you think about forging your bevels on a normal blade, it bends the blade up. The reason for that is because you're extending the material at one end and the other end is remaining thick. You're doing the same thing with a dagger, but if you imagine, once you've bent it up one way, all you have to do is forge the bevels on the other side exactly the same, and it will come back straight, which is why that preform is so important. So I can maintain my edge thicknesses, and I can control how I make the dagger by watching how much the blade is bending. If it's bent one way, I know I need to forge the bevels down further on one side, and then to straighten it up. And if it then bends the other way, then I need to forge the bevels the other way. If I try and forge both bevels at once, it might look straight, but it could be all wonky. So again, I'm going to work on that same side that I was just working on. I'm going to draw that material down to just about finished. For about a 2-inch section, maybe a little bit long. When I'm looking at my edge thickness, I can see it's thinner here than it is here. That's not a big deal because the next bevel I do, I'll kind of overlap and I'll have, forge a little bit of this as well. So now it's bent. Now it's bent the dagger that way a little bit, just a tiny bit. So now what I'm going to do is forge the other side, and that'll bring it back straight. That's cool. That's a good one, Randy. So no, I've never forged a full tang dagger. I don't actually like full tang knives, just a personal preference. I don't like full tang knives in general, but there's nothing saying you can't forge a full tang dagger. There's nothing that says you can't. So now we're going to get started on the second bevel. Same story. Just on repeat. Making sure I constantly flip my work so that I'm working the bevels evenly. If you only forge the bevels on one side, like if I only forge the bevels from this side, what's going to end up happening is the whole blade's going to corkscrew. It's going to look like a screw. And it's even worse for swords. If you're forging a double-edged sword, which I have forged a couple, if you forge from one side, most of the time you're not getting the right angle between the anvil and the hammer, and so therefore when you flip sides you're normally evening it out. If you just forge from one side, if you only forge from your strong side all the time, what ends up happening is the blade does this and you end up with a big twist in your blade, which is really hard to fix. Not really true. Sheki, most bayonets are not daggers. Most bayonets are definitely not daggers. Most bayonets are single-edged, and they're designed to fit to a rifle or a musket. And some bayonets were, especially back in the old days, were plug bayonets. They didn't have a handle. They were literally like a cork that went in the end of the musket, so you couldn't use the musket while you had a bayonet attached. Then you go into the brown bass, the area of the brown bass, and you had the locking plug bayonet, which was slotted over and rotated. That didn't have a handle either. So those were triangular in cross section. Then you get modern bayonets. They are just really long knives. They don't have two edges. They've got a spine and an edge. Like a normal fighting knife, they're just longer. And they've got that hilt assembly to attach to the rifle. Again, I'm just working that bevel up until it's matching the other bevel. And I'm being very careful not to rotate my hammer down and hammer on that central ridge. But now you can see that the point of the blade is now back in line with the ricasso because these edges have been forged equally. So because I forged one edge down to a certain thickness along a certain length, and then I forged the other edge down to the same thickness along the same length, they both equaled each other out and straightened that dagger out. Yeah, so there are some bayonets that are daggers. The Russian Kalashnikov bayonet, the old 80s version, was a dagger, but the majority of modern bayonets, whether you're talking about the M4 bayonet, the M16 bayonet, or the Steyr bayonet for Australia and Austria, the G36 bayonet for the Germans, or the SA80 bayonet, they're all just standard knives. There are a couple of exceptions, but most are just standard knives. Most daggers and spears are the same. Most daggers, although most spears tend to have sockets rather than tangs, although you do have tang spears. Some spears are more like swords. They've got quite long blades. Yeah, the SLR just had a nice style. The Lee Enfield just had a nice style as well. So, and then you've also got stuff like spears that have cross guards like daggers and stuff like that, like war spears. It's hard to generalize, but yeah, most of the time a spear is much like a dagger, but with a longer. Yeah, you probably have the SMLA Mark 1, number 1 Mark 3. Sorry. Again, forging that bevel, flip it over, forge it down the same to the other side, keeping that hammer angle, forging the bevel down until I see the bevel reaching that central ridge, not going any further. a very number 4 Mark 1. Alright, there you go. I wasn't aware that they made spike bayonets for the number 4. I've held quite a few number 4s. I love the Enfield. It's one of my favourite rifles. I was disappointed. I had a line on a mint condition number 4 Mark 1 back when I was 18. I didn't have my firearms license at the time, and so I had to pass it up, and unfortunately it got sold to someone else. I've always been a little peeved with myself that I didn't jump on it. Forged the bevels on one side, it's bent the dagger around slightly, and so now I'm going to forge this side and have it move back again. Oh, I hate you. I hate you so much. Yeah, so the M8 is, it's kind of almost a K-bar rip-off. Yeah, I'm bayonets. Yeah. Not a fan of bayonets. Unless it's like, you know, the Napoleonic era, in which case I see the point. Hey, Caitlin, how you going? Thanks to Shecky. Having a haircut. Carefully moving that level down. That's straightened it back out a little. I've actually started moving it a bit further down, out of habit. Because what I normally do is instead of straightening, like going bent, straight, I actually kind of bend one way, bend the other way, bend the other way, bend the other way. Get to the end. It's a bit faster that way. So if instead of doing block section, and then another block section, which is the way that you should do it when you're starting out making a dagger. If you're making a dagger, you should do block. Mine tends to be block, and then the next block is about 1 1/4 times the size, and then the 1 1/4 of the size, 1 1/4 of the size, and that way I actually move up the blade faster. But you've got to be really careful that you're not overshooting each side, that you end up with a crisp dagger. You can fix it if it does end up being a crisp. As I said, all you have to do is just make sure that your thicknesses were right at the start of your Sonobe, at the start of your preform, and then forge your thicknesses. So if it's starting to do this, wherever it dips in, that means that you've got too much thickness at that dip. And you might not be able to see it, but the dagger will feel it. quite bent now. Got quite a bend that way. Means I need to forge out some more bevel on this side. Bring it straight again. You're just constantly chasing that snake. It's like trying to put your hands on a snake. It's just constantly squiggling out of the way. All good, Randy. Hey Ben, how you going? I'm hoping all of my American brethren are safe today. Feeling that there's giant storms over there. That's why Yarmouth had to jump off. I am fine and dandy, sir. Haven't been much better, actually. You notice I'm not wearing my Blue Ninja, and that's because it's beautifully cool today. So the forge actually feels really nice right now. It's a nice warm feeling. So, working on this dagger. Getting there. We're almost there. If you can't tell, I'm a fan of wide daggers. I like having a bit more edge on my dagger. Yeah, thanks. Good weather. I like it. So, pull this out, 1 or 2 more taps. There we go, see? So that's, I did, oops. That's not a dagger. Just kidding. Once you get up to the tip, it can be quite difficult because your hammer blows are going to cover the entire tip. See how radically that point drifts off, almost like a Bowie knife. So now my job is to come back in and very carefully forge that tip back in. This is the single most difficult part of making the of making a dagger. Yeah, so this is the old dog's head. It's just that I put a new handle on it from when I snapped the handle off in that live stream, and I'm really happy with it. It's a much heavier handle, much longer handle, made out of some spotted gum. It's not actually that thick. It's not too bad. It's about 1.25 inches. No, not really. Not at all. The other thing is you're not really whacking the crap out of stuff like this. It's mostly a tapper tool. Tap it in. then there's just a little bit more thickness. As you can see, there's a bit of slope in it. A little bit more thickness to dress up on this side of the tip. So basically what you do is click their name, and then you can, you can't do it while it's live, but you can do it after. You go back into the comments after on reviewing your live stream, you can actually hit the person's name, and it comes up with an option to say make moderator. Got a bit of a squiggly tip, and that happens all the time. That's the one to Shecky. When the hammer drops, the BS stops. Jared gets to control the comments while I'm busy forging stuff. I'm only using low heats now because fine finishing, and I don't want to move too much material. I'm just going to work back and forth, adjust some thicknesses, using that old tapper. Now, in this case, I've stuffed up and I've put a little bit too much material on this side and not enough on the other. What I can do now is it's thick enough that I can dress that by forging on the sides. It's not normally the ideal, but it's what I'm going to do in this case. The tip is always the most challenging part of a dagger forging build, especially if you're forging your preform nice and fine like you should. This is going to end up being one of the primal line of knives, so I'm going to leave this as forge finish, and I'm going to file finish the edges. So I want it to be as close to finish as I could possibly make it out of the forge. So it's got to be very, very, very close. Just light taps, just dress that bit back in. And I will do some filing on the profile file at the end. And now we're just checking the straightness. I have a little bit of a twist in it, so I'm going to go back. Throw back in the forge just a little. I'm going to start reworking my straightness, making sure that I'm on the angle that I want. One of the big things is you're going to end up overstriking your plunge cuts. You're going to end up overstriking them. There's almost no way you're not going to. So dressing them is a really specific technique that requires a bit of skill. And I'll show you that in a second. Normally I normalize 3 times before quenching. That's just my habit. Once for the initial, twice to refine, and 3 times for good luck. Hey, Tekron, thanks, buddy. The handle will end up looking like a dagger handle. No, I'm planning on eventually. I did a live stream a while back of some knife designs that I was thinking of for the primal line, just after I burned my hand. And yeah, the dagger handle will look something like that. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to dress those plunge cuts. You can use the heel of your hammer. You just want to knock it one way or the other. The big thing is you're using the edge of the anvil more than you're using your hammer. So right now, this edge is too far over that side. So what I'll do is I'll throw it over on that side, and I'm actually going to aim for the ricasso. And that's pushed that back over, and now it's more central with the ricasso. Now this side, again, I've got the same problem. It's a little too far over to this side, so I'll throw it on the anvil. It's probably a little cold, but that's okay. I'm going to aim for the ricasso. And there you go, I just pulled that center. Now I can go back straight. Ridge is fairly straight. The tip's fairly in line. Fairly. Now I'll throw it back in. Normally I'd wet forge my bevels on a dagger. I was a little bit in a rush today and I didn't do that. I really badly need a new block brush. Most of the bristles are missing on this thing, but let's give it a brush. Just going to dress the sides a little bit. Just notice it's a little off. Hey, Cat, how you going? Oops. Welcome to the channel, Cat. I'm not sure if you've been here before. I don't think I remember you commenting before, so... Give it a quick brush and rush. Press the thickness a bit more. So yeah, there's the central ridge, you can see, on both sides. Nice clean central ridge working all the way down the blade. That's what you want. So, now we get to the fun part, which is using my new guillotine tool. I I've already got the fullering die set up. Now I get to fuller in the tank shoulder. Yeah, Peter, it's a little sad, unfortunately. Thanks, Larry. You're buffering, are you? My connection says good, so... How's everyone's excellent. All right. I really need to make myself a mild steel hammer. Also, I'm using my guillotine tool, so it's not damage my guillotine too much. But we'll use the round one. Gotta love it, eh? Gotta love it, Dagger. Alright, so I'm going to select the length of my ricasso. I always do a little bit too much because it's easy to remove material and put it back on. Flip it. That's pretty much it. That's enough shouldering that I can get on with forging the tank. I like my new guillotine tool. And for anyone interested, if you email me at samtownsbladesmith@gmail.com and express if you're interested in buying a flat pack of that with the dies and all that kind of stuff, I will be selling those very soon. I'm just taking expressions of interest right now. Thanks, Kat. Yeah, this has been a very information-intensive stream. At the moment, I'm planning on selling them for $299 Australian with the 3 dies and all that. I think I can see myself in the camera. Dirty work, forging, dirty work. Normally I peen on my pommel. I like peening on pommels because they are, it's the more traditional way. If I wanted to make a takedown where I had the handle and the guard removable, then I'd want to thread it. I don't actually like threading pommels themselves. If I was going to do that, I'd more likely use a pommel nut and have that inset into the handle. So, alright, now I've got to work down some material, so I've got to do some heavy hammering again. I'll back it up too. We'll get a bit of hammer technique going. be able to call that good. I'll cut it off. We'll flip it around, use my bladesmithing tongs to draw out that tang properly. Now when I'm hitting like that, I want to make sure that I haven't got the ricasso or the blade on the anvil. Because if either of them are on the anvil, I'm going to end up kinking my work. And if I put the bevel on there, that bevel's going to get mashed. It's terrible. New knife? Not sure what you mean, new knife. The only threaded pommel swords that I have are my fencing swords. And that's so that I can replace the... no, same knife, same dagger. Just drawing the tang down now. The time is 11 o'clock a.m. Alright, oh, I'm getting old. I'm getting old man noises. First off, I'm going to straighten it a little bit. Straighten that tang out a little bit. Now I'm just going to mark where I want to cut it. Cut it about there. Might be able to get through it. That's good, cool. That's okay. This is why I use a hardened hot cut tool. Make a new set of Bladesmith tongs. Looks like kind of works. Definitely need to make a different set of Bladesmith tongs. These are built for bigger blades. Yeah, well. No point in hitting it softly. Might trade out for flat nose. Definitely not my preference, but without a actual set of tongs for this dagger, I don't want to fly ass around making notches in it with the Bladesmith tongs. Yes, through tang. All of my daggers are through tang. Except the Ski and Do, which Jared bought. That was a different Get some energy, get some heat into it. Yeah, it'll have a cross guard. Hey, Hanneman, how you doing, buddy? Probably mild steel. Pontiac G6, nice, man. Flat jaws are not my first choice. Dagger. There's proof that you don't need a cross beam to follow. Yeah, you can definitely make a lot of blades from a G6. Going down. How's that for an anvil angle? Kind of looks like the way Roy sets his hammer up, his angle up. Dagger. Very good. Oh, it's not forged, and this is front forged. Alright, fellas. Now I'm starting to sweat. Hey Ed, how you doing, mate? Who doesn't, Randy? Who doesn't? Well, I know a fair few people who don't, but you know, they don't count. Sure my tang's in line with the blade. Got a cast on there, hit it with the heel of the hammer. Getting very close. Might just swap my dies out on my building. Swap it out with some flat dies. I don't want it super hot at this point. I'm just doing the final finishing right. Whack. Another whack. There we go. That's what I was looking for. That'll do. Picked up blue. Alright, now I'm going to flip it around and fix that blade because using flat jaw tongs munks the hell out of the blade. See, the blade's all warped and twisted. The old guillotine tool can go away again. Out comes the dog's head again. At this stage I want to use a very low red heat. So the shoulders should be the thickest portion of the blade. So it should taper from the shoulders of the tang down to the tip, and from the shoulders of the tang down to the base of the tang. So it should taper in both directions. Alex, you'll lose lives, you'll lose subs for any kind of reason, mate. Never try and work out why. I did just quote Babe, that's true, I did. I see you've played Knife and Spoony before. I've lost, I lost 100 subs in a day last year. While I've been talking, I haven't got that low heat. I've got a nice big bright orange heat. Not what I wanted. This is not what I wanted. it in. Just tap it in. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. Alright, that looks about straight. I'll let it cool down properly and I'll check it again. But that looks pretty good. Alright, cool. So I'm just going to heat it up one more time. I'll let it scale up a little bit too much there. Talking to you guys. I lost 100 subs when YouTube was doing that big bot destroying thing. I had a whole bunch of bot subscribers for some reason, about 100 of them. I suspected that there was something wrong, but yeah, it's alright, I lost them, and now I'm at 1200, so I'm all good. Alrighty, this will get the big scale off, but it won't get off the little bits. So I'll have to stick it in vinegar for a little bit, but that's alright. What I do anyway. With that is a forged dagger blade. But as you say, that's not a knife. This is a knife. little bit bigger than the dagger. Just a tiny bit. So I'll bring you up to my level, so you can get a better look at this thing. There we go. So, it's a through tang dagger. It's probably hard to see with the anvil behind it, but it's got a nice defined central ridge on both sides is important. You can see the central ridge on that side, central ridge on that side. Defined ricasso, defined tang shoulders. And the big thing is that you don't need a guillotine tool to do that. You can do that with just your anvil and a hammer. If you watch my Skyrim dagger video on my channel, if you haven't watched that already, please feel free to check it out. But I use just the anvil and my hammer to create the tang shoulders for that dagger. I won't put my touch mark in this just yet. Thanks, Govinda. I touch mark my blades, but I don't have a touch mark at the moment, so I need to get one, but unfortunately they're bloody expensive, and that's, life. I have better tongs, I just don't have tongs for this specific kind of knife, so, yeah. But that is the finished dagger forging. You can see I've got the defined plunge cuts. There's a little bit of a nick in that one from the anvil face, and that one. But that's okay because I file those finished. There's no way I'm going to make my touch mark because it's a little too detailed. Yeah, it was very simple, the one I made Jared. So yeah, I won't be making my own touch mark. I've got to buy one. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's how to forge a dagger blade. Very in-depth kind of example. Again, you can, you know, if I was taking a little bit more time, if it wasn't, you know, if I wasn't in such a rush to do this for live stream, I would have forged those plunge cuts a little bit neater. They're a little bit off, but it's tapered from the tang shoulders all the way down to the tip, and it's tapered from the tang shoulders all the way down to the end of the tang, and that means that it will fit a guard. It's really important to do that on swords because it also gives it harmonic protection. If you have a really thick tang, it creates a shear plane at the shoulders, whereas if you thin the tang, it'll vibrate just like the blade will. But that is how to forge that specific style of dagger. If there is enough interest, and I will gauge that by, I'll probably put out a Facebook post or something like that asking for expressions of interest. I may do a very in-depth video on how to forge daggers. But yeah, that's about as in-depth as you can get. If anyone does have any questions, you can email me at samtownsbladesmith@gmail.com, or you can comment under this video after the video has been put up, asking any questions you like, or on any of the other videos that I have. I do spearheads, and I do plan on doing one on the video. I've actually forged a fair few, but I've never done a video on one, so I plan on doing that. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit busy with custom orders, so you guys are going to have to deal with me making stuff for customers, which is why I had that crossbeam hammer video. But yeah, so if you want to support the channel, you can support the channel through Patreon at www.patreon.com/samtownsbladesmith. You can also support the channel through Coffee. If you want to do single-time donations, it's www.ko-fi.com/samtownsbladesmith. And it's just single-time donations of multiples of $3. Basically, you're buying me a coffee. That's the whole idea. It's a really cool idea. You can also check out my Etsy store. I have a couple of blades up there at the moment for sale, and I will be putting some more stuff up there very soon, including maybe some hammers, so keep an eye out for that. I really like to thank you all for coming along to the live stream. I really enjoy doing these. I will be back on Saturday at 9:30 or 9 o'clock a.m. Australian Western Standard Time, or 9:30 Eastern Standard Time in America. I will be putting up a poll in my community tab. If you go to my YouTube channel, and up the top there's videos, playlists, and community. If you hit community, you'll be able to see the polls. I'll be putting up a poll after this video for what I'm going to be forging next live stream, so make sure you vote on that. That's how this got made, and that's how I made the draw knife. Whoops. That's how I made the draw knife, which I'll grab just before we go. That's where this got forged, although now it's finished and it looks really nice. But yeah, so this was forged in a live stream last week, and that was because of all of the votes. So make sure you vote on the poll, and yeah, make sure you check out my Wednesday video. I'll be uploading a video on Wednesday. I'm planning on starting to do some more charcoal forging stuff, some more forge welding stuff now that winter is here, or now that autumn is here, and the fire bans are over. I can get started on forging some Damascus and other things. So keep an eye out for that, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Thanks, and I'll see you later.